that he built the house. It's not the case, but you should give her what. So that is something I also want to give us permit me. I know I said that agency, but please permit me to say that in terms of gender, I have attained a certain level of understanding, degree of understanding, the clear knowledge of what gender equality is in its absolute sense, in its academic sense. So, and I would say that gender equality, like I actually said, it's not female, it's male and female. It's the balance between male and female in our society. If the men feel, because we have in the academic field, we have masculinity theory, feminism theory, and then the queer theory, which we are not discussing. But we have feminism, we have men also say this is our worry. And how do we create balance between these two? We have the men say telling us to be strong and not doing money at night. It's also damaging us. You know, that the patriarchy system has put. So it's not one way, like I have earlier said. It's not about women. And even from our conversations, you know, if I say, man, what are you doing for the Lord, the soldier that came back? What are you doing for his wife? What are you doing for his child? So you should always put in your mind. You can have your personal outside view of gender equality. It's allowed, we are all human beings and we have personal beliefs and ideologies, right? But when it comes to this particular work, this concept we are doing, we should understand that equal access to resources, as they are doing your information, if they are putting community training for men, please look for something for women, look for something for the children, look for something for people with disabilities. And we have continuous and sustained peace and reconciliation process. Do we all understand? Like I said, resources, representation, and making. I want to, okay, yes, before I become a conclusion, yes. Okay, so thank you, thank you. So when I think the whole topic of my work, so making them as a resource, voices, and is training them that and quality. Yes, exactly. Thank you for adding that. And I really appreciate. So we should please understand gender equity, gender, men and women, gender, men and women. When we say gender equality, men and women. So that that is how it is. That is what the academic is. Gender, men and women. Balance in sense of sources, balance in the sense of representation, balance in the sense of decision making. Any other thing outside this is your own personal thinking, is what you see it as. But academically, this is the standard understanding of what gender equality is. Like I said, if you're talking about women's rights, let me put this here, you are a feminist. When you're talking about gender, is men and women. So when I say I'm a gender, or you hear somebody say I'm talking about gender equality, please let's be mindful. It is not feminism, it's gender, men and women. Under gender, if you decide to say I'm a feminist, it's another new conversation. If you decide to say I'm a what they call themselves, masculine, whatever, it's another new conversation. So please let's not mix the things together. And when we are doing our work, We should be objective about our work and don't think that you are doing anything immoral. Please, I don't want to play that out there. That's why I highlighted it in green. I knew that we were going to come to this. So please and please and please and please, we should try as much as possible to do a gender equitable reconciliation strategy, thinking, process, in whatever we are doing in terms of peace building. And with this, I would like to say thank you. I am putting my phone number here.
Please allow us. Can I invite Mr. Bata? thing that was most curious about my country in Nigeria, I don't know if any of you have ever asked yourself that question. Why did the founding generation agree to stay together as one? I don't know if anybody here has ever asked themselves that question. Anyone that has ever taken the time to study the early history of Nigeria will realize that a lot of people have been feeling concerned about the viability of Nigeria because of our diversity and the way she was being put together. So many people expressed concern about it as well, including the British themselves. Particular some of them one of Britain in the 19th century said that the idea of the Nigerian nation was manifest as well. How can you talk about the nation that was disparate people? We also have very respected northern and the 19th over Kaiman remarked that the north is very different from the south. The north looks to the middle east for inspiration, the south looks to the west for inspiration. In his work, he described the cultural ignorance. How can it work? As a young man, our first prime minister, Sabah Baliwan, when he first went to the State House in the 1940s, said that I believe it is impossible for the opinion of Nigeria. We have a famous statement by Obafemi Awolowo, Nigerian, the man who got that expression. The idea of any spiritual unity, right, organic unity between Nigerians is grossly misconceived. I also have Nigeria, the state of language. And so, studying Nigeria's early history, I have to ask myself, they have so much feeling about Nigeria together. Why do they still remain together? A lot of people mistakenly believe that Nigeria was a book for Nigerians and British. And they forget that between 1950 and 1960, were also six or seven constitutional conferences where Nigerians from every region, every religion, every background sat around tables like this, not for 1 year, but for 10 years, an entire decade, debating. Should we stay together? If we stay together, how should we be together? And so, if that generation of Nigerians were, in a way, truly different, very aware of their difference, concerned about their difference, had this opportunity, they had the opportunity to say, okay, let's have different topics. They have the freedom to do it. Why did they still choose one Nigeria? Now, this is a question that honestly young Nigerians should confront. Because one of the most important information to have is the reason for your existence. When you don't even know your why, you're already lost. Why do we exist? That is one of the information as parents we give our children. Tell them their why. Tell them where they're from. One of the big gaps in our narrative as Nigerians is that we don't have a why. But if you listen and read the works, the biographies, the autobiographies of the founders, in their conversations, in their thoughts, you begin to see the why. Why, in spite of the fact that they felt they were very different, this thing was difficult, they distill better attitude. And one of the most important why that they chose unity not out of sentiment, not out of love for each other, but they chose it as a strategic necessity. As a strategic necessity to maximize the potential of creating prosperity at home and projecting power abroad. They understood that we are strong together and we are being born into a racialized world where the black man is at the bottom of the planet. And if I ever really have a chance to redefine the global order, we have to stick together, in spite of the fact that we may not do that. Again, these are things that young Nigerians need to understand from a young age. That our founders made a very pragmatic, clear-sighted decision. They weighed the pros and the cons, and they said, you know what, unity is better. However, second question I'd like you to address your mind to is, if you choose to live with somebody, not really because you like them, but because you feel that you are compelled by circumstances to live with them, what do you think your attitude towards them will be? If you are in a situation where you say, I don't really like this person, but for my financial stability, for my external security, I'm going to live with this person, but I don't really like them. What do you think your attitude towards them? Suspicious, condescending? In Nigerian language, you will tolerate them. When we say we tolerate you, we don't mean tolerance. When we say we tolerate you, we mean that we will do anything short of breaking up with you. So there may be no respect, there may be no regard. I can be willing to cheat you, I can be willing to kick you. The only thing I'm not ready to do is let you go. And so, because our choice to live together was not a sentimental one, because it was a pragmatic one, our attitude towards ourselves as Nigerians has been one of what I call basic tolerance. Basic. We barely tolerate each other. And that is the root cause of a lot of the tensions we have in our society today. We barely tolerate each other. And for Nigeria to become a more stable and peaceful society, we have to begin to travel from barely tolerating one another close towards fully accepting one another. Now, full acceptance is an ideal. We may never get there. Because what full acceptance means is that there is no tribe. All Nigerians are one. Any Nigerian can represent every Nigerian. If somebody is elected into office and begins to constitute their cabinet, I won't say, where is the Igbo man? Where is the Yoruba man? Where is the Hausa man or the Ijaw man? Because everybody there, as long as they're Nigerian, I feel they represent me. That is full acceptance. It's an ideal. Our country may never get there. But between basic tolerance and full acceptance, there's something I call enlightened acceptance. This is where we say we are different, okay? But we will compete fairly in accordance with rules. Like in the Premier League or the Nigerian Football League. You know, the only difference between a football match and a bloodbath is the referee. The only difference between sports that you can watch and enjoy and a bloody battle that you cannot bear to stand is rules and a referee. So enlightened acceptance is where you say, you know what, we are different. However, we will compete according to rules and processes and procedure. In our competition with each other, there are certain things that are not allowed. There are certain things that must not be done. And for us to get to a place where we are able to do this, there are two things that we need to develop: respect for each other and empathy with each other. Respect for each other and empathy with each other. Now, what does respect mean? Respect means to see something in your enemy or your rival that you find admirable. That's what respect means. It does not mean that you are my friend. You are my rival, but I see something in you that is worthy of emulation and praise. When you respect somebody, the way you fight with them is different from when you don't respect someone. And I'll give you a practical example from one of those traumatic incidences in our history, the Civil War. There are not many accounts of the Civil War that are written from a purely military perspective. Most accounts of the war are written from a humanitarian or civilian perspective. But there are two prominent accounts that are written from purely military perspective. The first was by the officer that commanded the Biafran army, Alexander Madibo. His account was a purely military account of how the war was fought. And another one was by a Nigerian soldier that fought in the 3rd Marine Commando Division, General Alabi Isama. His account, again, written from a purely military perspective. Now, if you read Madiebo's account, the Biafran perspective, he wrote about the Battle of Owerri. Owerri is a city in the eastern heartland, and as many of you know, when the war started, Biafra collapsed rapidly. The capital of Biafra was taken within a few months of the war. So Biafra shrunk very rapidly. And the Nigerian army took over sometime in 1967 or 68. I'm not sure now. And when that happened, the Biafrans became very desperate to recapture Owerri, because if Owerri was gone, then almost certainly all was lost. And so they threw everything they had at recapturing Owerri and succeeded in pushing the Nigerian army out of Owerri. But when the Nigerian army was retreating, like armies do, the officers here that know this better than me, you don't just throw your gun down and start running. There might be a unit that stays fighting while the others are retreating. So there was a unit of the Nigerian army that was holding Owerri, so the rest would retreat. And Madiebo was writing about that unit and its performance and its commander. And he said, in spite of the fact that these were our enemies, that I need to pause here and commend the officer that commanded that unit, because they fought professionally. That is a soldier. That is what respect means. Now, on the other side, when Godwin Alabi Isama was writing, he said that the Nigerians were confident that the moment they capture Port Harcourt, which was Biafra's access to the sea, that Biafra would collapse, that they were confident about it. So as you know, the 3rd Marine Commando Division landed in Cross River and quickly captured Port Harcourt. And in his book, he wrote that they were shocked that after the capture of Port Harcourt in 1967, that the Biafrans kept fighting for another 2.5 years. That the mettle, the courage they showed touched him as a soldier. That those were soldiers' souls. That is respect. And that is one of the reasons why the Biafran War did not end in a massacre. It did not end in a massacre of civilians and women and children after victory, because there was respect on either side by both officers. I'll tell you the personal story of my own father, who was in the propaganda unit in Biafra. The Biafran propaganda unit was so effective that Biafra was the first globalized civil war, if you like. It was all over the world. And you know what a propagandist is now? When the Nigerian army is next door, they say, Biafra is winning, Biafra is winning. You know, there's victory. They were very good. And so the people in the propaganda unit were noticed by the people in the Nigerian propaganda unit. Their work was so good that their colleagues or their rivals on the other side noticed them. And after the war, when the war ended, there was an understanding amongst the members of the Nigerian propaganda unit that please, that guy, Uche Chukwumerije, we must ensure he comes out of Biafra alive because that guy is really good at what he does. That's called respect. And one thing that we need in Nigeria today is respect for one another. You may not like me, I may not be your friend, but if you see
think that is the real point you are making, and that is also where I want to follow up. Differences is natural. That you live in a society where there will be differences. That there is no such a society. Because even in our own individual families, we have differences. But are those enough for us to start killing and cutting each other's hands as a whole society? These are the questions that I think we should ask, and these are the fundamental issues that we have faced. When I was in Sierra Leone, I remember at one of our senior staff meetings, I had my boss, direct boss, force commander, was a lieutenant general from India. I was deputy, I was then a major general. And the head of the nation, the representative of the Union, the general, was late Ambassador Amubadiriti. And we had meetings, ceasefire, and at last we were lucky that the ceasefire was signed with ECOWAS monitor. And every time there is issue of ceasefire, that and what was recently, for those who knew Sierra Leone in those days, at one point there was no armed forces. They disbanded their army, air force, who were then fighting the Commodores. They never had a Commodore. They're civil defense force. And they had another branch of them called the Dosos, who were from the central part of but they are civil defense forces. So no army, no navy, no air force. So people, the society depended on civil defense. And the IUL, those are the rebels, were on the other side. When there is a ceasefire violation by the IUL, there will be a report. United Nations, our nation will start investigating, pointing accusing criminals of IUL. You have done this, you have done this. When the IUL complained of the CTF or government forces violating the ceasefire, the mission does not. Or we can't go to the rebel side, so we not sure people may die. So one day, at the meeting, I asked my boss at the senior staff, I said, what are we there for? As peacekeepers, we are not supposed to take sides. We are supposed to be not neutral, impartial. Neutral, you are not going to do anything. If you put your car in neutral and keep it there, you don't want to go forward or backward. But impartial, and the impartiality is what you have said that any referee and is human. There is no way two people are contesting that if you are standing, you will not take sides in one way or the other. Even referees, there is a team that is part of it. But they cannot, because the world is looking at them, and what will people judge them on what is going on? So when they make sure they play like this. So side tells us there is a ceasefire violation, we go to it. We go to verify. If the level tells us we say we can't, all they get is me. And for the first time in my life, I volunteered. Because as a soldier and an officer and a gentleman, I don't volunteer. If you ask me to do that, to the best of my ability. And that's why I never joined the airborne forces in Nigeria and throughout my career. Because for you to go to airborne, you volunteer. And me, I will never volunteer. No, but if you have compelled me, that one of the things that is required for me, something I will do that, then I will do it. But I will not. When I now told him, oh, how do we do it? I said, the next time there is a thing, I'm willing, lead the team to investigate. The level did, and we decided we now want one step. How do we get to the level? All the helicopters that we are going to use, if we use, we shoot down the helicopter, or they will take us as hostages because their leader Sanford was under the case. They will take us hostages for negotiation. So one day I told, the final day I said, you, if my bosses, if we, myself and my team are taking hostages, I'll give you the negotiation. If you negotiate to get us out, fine. If we don't, that is what we pay the price for peace. But shooting down an aircraft will not happen. How am I sure? It's very simple. We go to the levels, give us your team. You want us to investigate. Give us your team to fly with us, and we go there. If they want to shoot their own people, they shoot us for their people. And the day I went to McKinney, he was the headquarters of the level at that time. The woman leader of the IWF was among the team that was for us. So I told my team, I said, nobody in my understand of crisis will put a woman, their leader, and shoot her down. What they were saying, I will flew from McKinney to Moibu. And they said, will you go and take reception? The whole red carpet for us. Will you bring outrider to the local machine? Then I want to make the idea. How we went for where they said violation of the movement. And unfortunately for us, the road was so bad and there was heavy downpour. Our vehicles couldn't go further. And we now have to come back because we were trip under our procedure. We had never spent a night in level 7. So it was getting to 3, 4 o'clock in the evening, and we have to go back and take the helicopter to reach. We don't fly in the night. I didn't want my time and space and station, and I said, so I immediately said, it is not, we have seen so far with yourself, but the roads are bad, the roads are transport of the and we didn't come prepared. So allow us to get back and to find a day to come and spend the whole night with do this. So they are not very well. And we got back to headquarters when they started, when they didn't see us, and then when they red calls, our communication broke down. So there was no trace of us. And at one point, the headquarters was shut down, we were kidnapped or arrested. Later on in the night, we were able to fly in the night and landed in a place called Kellerman. The Ghanaians were there, they received us, right? And that was the first time we were beaten so every from our foot, our head were pain. I had some tea to drink for the first time that night. then when let's say one or nothing will change, until the next day we talk about what about data. I am telling you this because it is that decision that created a turning point in the history of the world. That meeting I met with Peter created. And the next one, they both Nigerian battalion was in Makeni, where all the everybody was. We brought the leader of the CPF to the leader of IBO to meet the Nigerian battalion after putting it in our going down. But what I'm saying is that leadership comes. You have to take initiative and you have to stand for what you do. If you do, then you will. I tell you, nobody in this world believes that there will be disarmament in the diamond producing area of even in here, they brought a whole contingent from all the Pakistanis settled down in in 1 month on both sides of the CPF and IWF. Over 5,000 items, weapons, ammunition, all things being no gunshot, no gunshot. And to prove that that disarmament was done, and the best so far in the history of war, books are there. After the election that brought them to that party as president, there was a fight in the diamond producing area. Now, even in the beginning of the mine, they hold their action everywhere. And there was misunderstanding. On the misunderstanding, fight. There was a serious fight for 1 week that not one was really in on the fight. If there was a weapon, you know that. And the few people that were killed out of matches was nothing. So, in all this, what we see our leaders do, not that children. It is not what you tell and tell children or children, it is what they see you doing. So, issue of forgiveness happens. And one of the things I told them that led to all the stories of the family, we are all one. It's just like your mouth and in your mouth, you have your teeth, you have your tongue. And sometimes the teeth right the tongue. Is it because the head is strong so much? So we as human beings will have differences at times. We will have to be able to find out. And one of the things that I have found which I underplayed it and underrated it in the past is forgiveness. If you don't say it, if you keep gathering